Welcome back. So I'm getting ready to process these beavers that I just got. I got them back to camp. We're not quite back at camp. I'm a little ways away. I wanted to process them away from my camp, and that way I'm not going to have any meat or scraps or anything laying around my camp. This way it's further away, so if any bears or wolves come in to check out the smell, they'll be here instead of at my camp. But I wanted to walk you through the tools that I'm going to use to process these animals. I am going to spare you the more graphic details of breaking these animals down, but I'm going to be processing them to get the pelt and then also to get some meat off of them. And I'll show you what I end up with after I'm done. But before I get started, I just wanted to walk you through the tools that I'm using. The tools I brought with me are very basic. I'll begin with the gloves. I'm a big advocate of protecting yourself from the animals that you're dealing with, and having a pair of gloves to act as a barrier between you and the animal is quite important in my opinion. That way you're going to be way less likely to get any diseases or anything transmitted to you. Rather than using disposable gloves, I like to use these reusable gloves. They're just a latex dish glove, and I find they work quite well for processing animals, and that way I can continue to reuse them and not have to use disposables. I have 3 knives that I'm going to use to completely process these animals. I've got 2 kitchen knives and then an old butter knife. The kitchen knives are what I'm going to be using for skinning. They're a soft steel. This one's quite thin and flexible, and this one is a little bit more rigid. They're both quite sharp. They are a very soft steel, but I prefer softer steels when I'm working with animals, because if you hit a bone or the knife begins to dull, it's very easy to reestablish your edge and continue working. In my opinion, a very essential tool is a honing rod. That way if your knife begins to dull, you can just give it a quick touch up. It doesn't take much. I'll usually touch them up about once every 20 minutes or so, or whenever the knife begins to cut not as nicely as I would like. So a honing rod is what I'm going to use to maintain my tools throughout processing these animals. And once I get into processing the pelts, I've got this butter knife, which just has a nice curved tip on it, relatively sharp blade. This is what I'm going to use to flesh the pelts. So really simple tools, not a whole lot to carry, and you can do this in the backcountry, or even if you're at home, you don't need any fancy tools to process and break down animals. So this is it. This is my little backcountry workshop to process these animals. I'm going to get busy. I got a lot of work ahead of me. I'm going to get them skinned, get the meat broken down, then I'll show you what we end up with. Well, that took a few hours, but I managed to get both beavers skinned and the carcasses broken down. So what I've got here is the forequarters and the hindquarters of the small beaver, along with its 2 loins or back straps. Then I've got the hindquarters and the forequarters from the large beaver, along with its 2 back straps. So all in all, this was a lot of meat to get at once. I'm really happy about it. Obviously, this is going to be too much for me to eat over the next few days, so I'm going to have to cut some of this up, dry it. We're going to build a smoker, get it smoked. And the beaver pelts, I'll be completely honest with you, right now they do have fleas, so rather than trying to process the pelts with the fleas on them, I do have a small can of some insect killer that I'm just going to spray on there lightly. I'll roll the pelts up, leave them overnight. It's going to be plenty cool enough. This meat I'm going to put in this canvas bag, hang it from a tree, and it will be fine until tomorrow when I can get to further processing it. I'll probably keep a couple of these loins, make a nice stew tonight. But all in all, this has been a great success in trapping. We have a lot of meat to work with now. We got some real nice fur. These pelts are looking really good, actually. The fur has got a really nice color to them. So I'm really happy with our success today. Only got a couple hours left of daylight, so I'm going to get busy packing all this meat up, getting it stored properly. Same with the pelts. And then tomorrow we will continue on with processing everything. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one.